What's going on, beautiful people? A couple of weeks ago now, I was at Ty Streetman's place. Now, Ty is an expert in natural style aquariums, biotopes. He's traveled all over the world, had a look at some of his aquariums, and whilst I was there, he said, should we do our own tank as well? And I thought, what a great opportunity to learn from someone that's seen all this stuff in the wild and just create a beautiful natural scape. Learned a few tips about some setup styles that I hadn't learned before. We had really good fun as well, and as you can see from his tanks, like, he knows what he's doing. So yeah, take a look at this. I think it turned out absolutely brilliant, and I think it's a build that you guys can learn something from as well. Ty's just going to make a start now on Substrate system.
Okay.
Which is just aqua soil, am I right?
Yeah, we've got the Tropica aquarium powder.
Yep.
And we've got the regular soil, which has kindly been sponsored by Aquarium Gardens.
Yes, thank you, Dave.
Yeah,
because I forgot to bring anything apart from plants.
So normally you would put the powder on top of the soil because it's the light, but I'm going to do it the other way because I like the thick granules on the top. It's just quite easy to plant into.
Yep.
And the root systems will like the finer soil at a lower level as well.
Okay.
So it's not going to be too much of an issue. I need some scissors. Want really deep at the back so that we might not even need the other.
Yeah, it's surprising how far that bag's actually gone, isn't it? It's funny. I always find that the fine aqua soil looks like sand.
Yeah,
like from here. Yeah.
I'm just going to mix these up a bit. So I will use it. Let's use it.
Might as well use it.
We got it. Mix in a bit. Yeah, deep substrates. Some people really don't like it, but I like it because the plants are happy and then they stay in place.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. So that is our
substrate setup done.
Done.
Nice and simple. It's worth noting that obviously Ty's got CO2 running on everything as well. Some less than others, but you know that is something we should point out. Yes, people were thinking, why don't my plants look absolutely pristine?
They do like the CO2. Right, our hardscape, we've got 3 bits of stone and 3 bits of wood. Yeah. And we took a photo of the basic layout at Aquarium Gardens in their dojo.
Yep.
So we're going to try and replicate that as best we can. So we've got a selection of hardscape. We've got the Hakai stone, which I really like. So nice. Yeah, and we've got these bits of sort of standard aquascaping wood. These were sponsored again by Aquarium Gardens.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Dave. We've got 3 stones, 3 bits of wood. Yeah. And we're hoping that the stones will hold the wood in place. Yeah. We do have some glue in case we need it, but let's see how we go. So the idea is to create more room for our plants than for the hardscape, but we need some hardscape partly to attach epiphytic plants to. Yeah. But also to create some structure, some sort of bare bones of the display. So I can bury that one initially a bit in the substrate. Nice. And what you guys are going to see here is, you know, Ty doesn't go for some over-the-top complicated design, and I guess you're just replicating in your mind what you've seen so many times in nature. Yeah, so you see the way that rivers, the currents push bits of wood up against riverbanks, or they get tangled in the center and they create this quite complex sort of matrix of branches. And that's kind of what I was inspired with here. So we're going to use this rock. Hopefully it's going to sit on this bit. But no guarantee it'll all stay in one place. We'll try our best. Even if we just need a little touch here and there with the glue and tissue, it'll be fine. Actually, if we do this one this way around, and then we lock it, get this piece of wood before we film the next bit so that we're not faffing around with it too much. I had it in the shop one way, and of course, I think the sand was more sticky. Yeah, the soil, isn't it? I need this rock. Yeah, that one goes behind on that piece and holds that piece up. That's it. And then that one. I can I'm trying to get this piece up enough that it doesn't sit on the glass or get in the way. So
thinking of maintenance.
Exactly. A number of times I'm like, that looks amazing, and I'm like, I can't get an algae blade down there.
Yeah.
All right, so we've gone for a really simple composition. It's a sort of island bit, but we want lots of planting space for our dense jungly plants at the back.
Yeah.
We want a nice platform for our Java ferns and Anubias, and we want an open foreground for our sort of forest floor, if you like, of this jungle display.
So yeah, it's worth noting here, it's simple, it's not that high cost, but you will be surprised how hard it is to produce something that looks good and still simple, but you have that. Well, that's great.
Like when we played around in the dojo at Dave's, we thought island composition, something that doesn't require tons of hardscape, tons of investment for that, something that will eventually, this will all sort of disappear into the jungle.
Yes.
But it's crucial that we have it. And it also gives you a really good central focus to work around.
Yeah.
So I think that'll work.
It's pinned down, isn't it, with the rocks?
Pretty much pinned down. Hopefully...
Enough that it won't just instantly float up anyway.
Let's hope so, let's hope so. That one feels good, that one feels quite good. This one could do with being tightened up a little bit, but we can play with that. There we go. And these sort of wedges and things, we can wedge our epiphytic plants into.
Yeah, nice. Okay, we're going to crack on with the planting, and I'll just overlay the plant names as we go.
All right.
Well, we've got our plants ready. Ty's going to go behind the tank so that then I can come forwards and just get some shots of each plant, so you guys have got plant names as well.
So now what we're going to do is put our epiphytic plants, so all the plants that like to grow on wood, and we're going to wedge them in or glue them where we have to glue them.
Yep.
And one thing to note is that all the plants we're using, so the Echinodorus plants, the Anubias, Java ferns, they will lose these immersed leaves. They'll turn yellow and brown, and as they're losing them, they'll put out submersed underwater leaves.
Yep.
So when you first set up your jungle, it looks amazing, and then it can be a bit disheartening because like everything's going yellow. As soon as a leaf starts to go bad, snip it off.
Yep.
The plant stops putting energy into that bad leaf and puts energy into putting out a new submersed leaf. So even this leaf here that's got a corner chipped off, I'm already pulling it off. This one is a little bit brown, pull it off. That's already something we don't need. And that'll really help your plant to start living its underwater life. So I'm going to put a bit of glue, could probably just wedge it, but a bit of glue in here just to make sure it doesn't pop up. And with the jungle tank, the big bold textures are really important.
I was just thinking that because like ordinarily what I would do in a smaller scape is pick the smaller Anubias.
Yeah.
But what you're going for is probably what you see when you're out in the wild. One
of the things in like rainforest environments is that the lower down plants often have really big, broad leaves because they're trying to catch as much light and rainwater as possible. And they're being shaded by all the huge trees up above. So they really have to fight for every bit of light. And if you apply that sort of philosophy in here, that there's going to be all these really tall plants at the back shadowing all of this stuff.
Yeah.
We want plants that'll be happy in that shade and that will still give impact, even though they're kind of shrouded by everything else. This Anubia is so nice, but I'm going to break it in two.
You gotta fight for your light.
Exactly that. We're going to put this one down here. Yeah, I mean, the war of plants, the way that they struggle for lighting, and they'll strangle each other and scramble over each other, and
the strongest survive.
It's pretty vicious. It's a jungle out there. All right, so we've got this lovely Bulbatus hudolotoi, which you were saying is one of your favourite plants.
Yes.
It's a fern. It looks jungly. It's great.
Even underwater, it looks like it's terrestrial.
It looks like it's meant to be. Yeah, and I like it a lot. So we're just going to stick some on the wood.
Looking great so far.
So we've got Java fern here, this Microsorum, which is another firm favourite, really popular one. And again, really jungly effect, an epiphyte. We're going to glue it onto a rock here, and it's going to sit there and
this is so much.
Poke through.
I love this. This is different. Like it looks like what do they call it? It's a nursery log.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where a tree that's fallen and then everything else has grown on top of it.
That's kind of the look we're sort of going for, is that, you know, fallen tree and then those little ferns and epiphytes and mosses that cover everything. We haven't put any Java moss in this display, but you could do if you wanted to. I'll go for the Finita feeder. I'll let that run riot in the foreground.
Nice. I normally just stick it between gaps in the wood, but I suppose it's going to go even better being in that soil.
It'll scramble over everything eventually.
Yeah.
So.
We've got the Nymphea lotus there, which has come out of...
Come out of the stem.
Ty just grabbed a load of plants from this tank that's transferring over that will work really well in the background.
So we'll stuff them in there.
But the tank we're setting up now is going to look vastly different to this one. This has got a lot more of your sort of orangey, yellowy tones.
The biggest plant in there for here.
Whoa!
Which is this Ponegiton boivianus. It's one of my favourite plants, and I'm going to pull off some of the bigger leaves.
That's all right. We don't need water and fish in here.
Just the fish can crawl along the leaf structure, but
that'll look wicked.
It looks brutal, but I'm pulling off some of the big leaves because this thing grows so quickly.
Yeah.
And one of the things with a jungle tank is, like, in some ways it's much less maintenance. In other ways, there's always lots of pruning to do.
Yeah.
But that, you know, when you do your water change, you just do a big prune, and that's kind of it.
Yeah.
And it's just big, bold leaves, so it's not sort of going in there and delicately snipping little bits off. It's just yanking, chopping, you know. But this is going to be our sort of feature plant, going to lie over everything else.
Look at it.
That's what creates our jungle canopy.
Yeah.
And it also helps because it's going to diffuse light. It's another thing to sort of combat algae, and the plants underneath it in the middle that we've got are all lower light species, as you would have in the rainforest.
Yes.
So they'll thrive in that understory.
They'll also cast a sort of green light as the light goes through it, because it's kind of transparent, translucent, I guess. Yeah. A couple of weeks later, and here is how the tank is doing. It looks insane. So Ty decided that this tank is really going to suit a group of neon tetras, and I think they complement it so well. Whenever you have like a predominantly green tank, neon tetras just look amazing, and they seem right at home straight away. And shout out to Maida Head Aquatics Woodbridge for the fish. The plants look fantastic, they're in great health. Now obviously the tank is running CO2, and as we mentioned earlier, with a nice simple substrate system of aquasoil and CO2, a good few water changes, you can get super fast growth on all your plants. I mean, they're even growing out the top of the water as well. And it's exactly like I've always said. Now, I do a lot of setups without CO2, but there's no doubt putting CO2 in your tank is like the ultimate. It turbocharges everything, and you do get the absolute best plant health. Especially with the plant mass we've got here and CO2, it can make things so much easier because a balance is achieved so quickly. I mean, even the carpet in the foreground is sort of grown right in 2 weeks. Combining CO2 with high lighting, like we've got in this Chihiros here, just means you're on to a winner straight away. And what I love about a setup like this is the low cost, let's be honest. Now, low cost is obviously different for different people's budgets, of course, but this could be potentially more low cost than your usual massive hardscape heavy tanks. Just a few pieces of wood and rocks. And yes, there is a lot of plants in here as well, which can add to the cost. I mean, what am I talking about? This is not low budget at all. But it is simple. And to be honest, you don't have to do it all in one go, as has been done here. You could get a couple of plants one week, add a couple of plants the next week. That is going to make things harder because there won't be a balance achieved as fast, but that can also be enjoyable and a hobby in its own way, sort of collecting the plants. Lots of people collect plants, don't they? But aquatic plants can be collected slowly as well. So yeah, I think you should definitely give something like this a go. If you can't do it all in one go, just accept it'll be a little bit more difficult and build it over time. It's very rewarding. Just goes to show though, a nice, simple bread and butter fish can look amazing in a really, really natural environment as well. I hope you've enjoyed this one, and thank you, Ty, for having me and teaching me as much as you have. Links to Ty's channel are all below, and I'll see you guys on the next one.